Hi guys! Because the previous tutorial about the Jasmine stitch in the round was such a success and I received questions about how to make the project larger, here is the large version of the stitch in the round. If you make it bigger it becomes a hexagon shape, but I actually like that. If you know how to keep the shape round, please let us know in the comments so we can learn from each other. The result can be used on both sides, and with a different yarn it gives a completely different result. So here too you can vary endlessly. Pick the hook size recommended by the yarn and you are good to go. If you are new to this channel and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. That helps me a lot. And if you like this tutorial, give me a thumbs up. I would love to see your results. You can show me on Instagram at 2loopscrochet. Let's begin. For this tutorial I use a number 2 jute twine. I use for one placemat about 75-80 meters. I use a 4mm crochet hook and optional is a stitch marker. So grab your hook and stuff and let's make one. To start your placemat you make a magic ring. So place the yarn in your hand like this, wrap it around your fingers, hold it, then slide your hook under the first, grab the second, give it a twist, and then chain 1 to secure your yarn. Pull tight, and now your magic ring is done. We start with one puff stitch, and you make a puff stitch by pulling up a loop, half, 2 times the size of the thickness of your hook, or the height you want your stitches to be, but I use 2 times the thickness of my hook. Then yarn over, insert in the middle of the ring, yarn over, and pull up a loop, and pull up that loop as high as the other loops on your hook. Repeat, yarn over, insert in the middle of the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. You now have 5 loops on your hook. We need to do this one more time, so yarn over, insert in the middle of the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, and stretch that loop so all your loops on your hook are the same height. Then we finish the stitch by pulling this yarn through all the loops on your hook. But we need to hold this yarn to secure our stitch. So hold your working yarn between your thumb and middle finger, then wrap it around your hook, hold it tight, and pull through all the loops on your hook. Like this. Then insert your hook in the loop you held between your fingers, like this. Then yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook to secure your puff stitch, and then end with a chain 1. Always end with a chain 1 so your stitch is locked in. So this is a 1 puff stitch. Next we make a 2 puff stitch, and the 2 puff stitch you pull up your yarn, pull up your loop, so the loop is 2 times the size of the thickness of your hook, then yarn over. And now we don't insert in the ring, but in the top of the previous stitch, in the previous puff stitch. So yarn over and insert in the top of the previous puff stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Do that again, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. 5 loops on your hook, one more time, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. 7 loops on your hook. Now instead of holding this yarn and pulling it through, we make another puff stitch on your hook. So we now have 7 and we need 6 more loops on the hook. So yarn over, and now for the second puff stitch we insert in the magic ring. So yarn over, insert in the magic ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. Pull up the loop the same height as you did for the other 2 puff stitches, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. One more time, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. So now you have 13 loops on your hook, and now we can finish the 2 puff stitch. This is called a 2 puff stitch. So hold the working yarn again between your middle finger and your thumb, hold it tight, and then yarn over and pull through all loops on your hook. Take your time, go through one by one if you think that is easier. Sometimes you fly through your stitches and sometimes you struggle. Okay. You can pull through a little bit further so you have a little loop on this side. This is the yarn you held between your fingers, so insert in that loop, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on your hook, and chain 1. So this is a 2 puff stitch. We need 3 more of this in round 1, so we need a total of 4 2 puff stitches. So let's make them together. Pull up a loop, yarn over, and insert in the top of the 2 puff stitch, the previous one. Then yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert in the top again, pull up a loop, 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert in the top again, 7 loops on your hook. Leave those 7 loops on your hook. We now make the second puff, so yarn over and insert in the magic ring. So insert in the magic ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. Pull that loop the same height as the other loops, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. One more time, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. So you always make 3 yarn overs and insert in the stitch or in the loop. So you have 13 loops on your hook. Hold. Let's shrink my magic ring a little bit. Hold my working yarn between my middle finger and my thumb. Hold it tight, yarn over, and pull through all the loops on your hook. Take your time, and then you will be fine. When you have done that, insert in the loop you held between your fingers, pull through and pull through the loop on your hook. Chain 1. Always a chain 1 after every stitch. So we now have 1, 2 puff stitches, and we need 2 more. So I do 1 together with you, and the other one you can do on your own. So yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through. Yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. 1 more, yarn over, always 3 times, pull up a loop. You now have 7 on your loop, on your hook. Leave those 7 on your hook and start the second puff. So yarn over and insert in the middle of the ring, pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert in the middle of the ring, pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull up a loop. 13 loops on your hook. Hold the working yarn between your thumb and your middle finger and work your yarn through all the loops on your hook. Then insert in the loop you held between your fingers and make a slip stitch and a chain 1. So repeat that 1 more time. top of the stitch. Okay, we now have a 1 puff stitch, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 puff stitches. We end this round with a 3 puff stitch. And the 3 puff stitch is the same as the 1 puff or the 2 puff, but then you make 1 puff extra. So pull up your yarn, pull up your loop, yarn over, insert in the top of the stitch, the previous stitch, and make your first puff. 3, then yarn over, go to the middle of the ring, so exactly the same as your 2 puff stitch, make your second puff, and then you yarn over again. You can pull your yarn in the middle, your tail end, so your magic ring is closed, and now you see the star here. To make your last puff, you insert in the top of the first puff stitch. So yarn over, insert in the top of the first puff stitch. You have the 13 loops still in your hook, and then pull up a loop. Yarn over, go to this stitch again, pull up a loop. One more time, yarn over, into the same stitch, pull up a loop. You now have 19 loops on your hook, 6, 6, and 7, and now it's time to finish your stitch. So hold the yarn between your fingers again, yarn over, and pull through all stitches on your hook. Then insert in the loop you have between your fingers, slip stitch and chain 1 to secure. And here your round 1 is done. For round 2. From now on, we start every round with a 1 puff stitch and we end every round with a 1 puff stitch. Then after the 1 puff stitch, we make a 3 puff stitch, and for this round, we alternate a 3 puff stitch, a 2 puff stitch, a 3 puff stitch, a 2 puff stitch, until the end, and then make a 1 puff. I show you in a bit. And then every row, when you grow your circle, you make 1 3 puff stitch extra in between the 2 puff stitches. So for the next round, so round 3, you make 2 3 puff stitches and then 1 2 puff stitch, and then 2 again. And the next round you make 3 3 puff stitches and then 2 puff stitch. So for round 2, pull up your loop, yarn over, and we insert in the top of the last stitch of round 1. So where your stitch comes from. Pull up a loop. Pull up a loop. And another one, pull up a loop. So you have 7 loops on your hook. Finish your stitch. So hold your yarn, yarn over, and pull through every stitch on your hook. Oh, that was the wrong loop. Sometimes that happens. Okay, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert in the top of the last stitch of the previous round. Pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, 7 loops on your hook, hold your yarn, yarn over, and pull through all loops on your hook. Insert in the loops, in the loop. You held between your fingers and then slip stitch. And a chain one. And now you've finished your 1 puff stitch. Next is a 3 puff. So yarn over. So pull up a loop, yarn over, and insert in the top of the 1 puff stitch. And this might be a little tight. It happens with me all the time. And yarn up, pull up a loop. So yarn over, insert in the same stitch again. Pull up a loop. Yarn over, insert in the stitch to make your first puff. Now, it doesn't go any easier, but yeah. Okay. Ooh, all right, so your first 7 loops on your hook. Now we make the second puff, so don't finish this stitch, leave it on your hook, yarn over. Now we insert it here and we go down to the base of this star and then we insert there. Don't skip this one and insert there, but because then you have an uneven amount of legs in your star. So then one star has 7 legs and the other 5. That is not so nice. So here's one, drop down, and there you see the next place to insert your hook in the middle of that star. So 1, 2, 3. So 13 loops on your hook. And now we insert it here and then we go to the left and then you see here the next star and there is your point to insert for your third puff. So yarn over, go to this next point, insert in the top of the stitch and pull up a third time and then you have 19 loops on your hook. Now you can finish the stitch, so hold the stitch, yarn over, pull through all stitches on your hook. Like I said, sometimes you fly through and you don't have any issues, and sometimes you need to do the stitch 1 loop at a time. Okay, insert in the loop between your fingers. You can always pull it in a little bit, so make it a bit tighter and chain 1. So we have a 1 puff and then a 3 puff stitch. Now we make a 2 puff. So we make the first puff in the previous stitch, in the top of the previous stitch, and then the next puff in the star next to it. So you see here is 1 and here you make the second one. So yarn over, insert in the top of the previous stitch, pull up a loop. Replace my yarn, 7 loops on your hook, yarn over again, go to the next, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull up a loop. So you have 13 loops on your hook. If this wants to come out, yes. 13 loops on your hook, hold your yarn, yarn over, pull through all loops on your hook. Then insert in this loop and make a slip stitch and a chain 1. So that is your 2 puff stitch. Next is another 3 puff. So yarn over, insert in the top of the previous stitch and make your yarn overs and until you have 7 loops on your hook. And then this is the top of your previous stitch, then go to the next star and there you insert for your next stitch. So yarn over, insert in the middle of that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, and pull up a loop. And I think it is the yarn that is a little bit, that slide not very easily. So I have to work, it's kind of a workout. Yarn over, 13 loops on your hook, leave those 13 on your hook because we need a 3 puff stitch. So we need another one. So we worked in this stitch, then in this, and now we go to the next star, and that is here. So yarn over and insert there, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop. 19 loops on your hook, hold your yarn and pull through all loops on your hook. Insert, slip stitch and chain 1. And if you think you lose track of where your first stitch is, you can always put a stitch marker on top of the first puff stitch, so you know that is your first stitch. So you can do that if you think that is easier for you. Next is a 2 puff. So we have a 1, 3, 2, 3, and now a 2 again. Yarn over, insert in the top of the previous stitch, pull up your loops, and if you have 7 loops on your hook, then we start the next puff. So this was your first, and go to the next. Yarn over and make your loops and pull-ups. 2, 4, 6, yes. So we have 13 on the hook, hold your yarn and pull through all loops on your hook. Insert, slip stitch, and then make a chain 1. This is your repeat for the whole round. So repeat 3, 2, 3, 2, a total of 5 times. So you have 5 sets of 3, 2, 3, 2, and then I'll meet you back and show you how to end your round 2. Okay, I've made 5 times my 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2 all the way around. So I ended here with a 2, and you see here is still a gap before we can close a gap we need to close. In this gap we make a 3 puff stitch and a 1 puff stitch. So we make another 3 puff starting in the top of the previous stitch, then in the next hole, and then in the base of the first stitch. So to finish this star, and then we make another 1 puff stitch. So for the 3 puff, yarn over, insert in the top of the previous stitch like you did for every stitch. And then yarn over, go to the next and make your second puff. And then we go to the base of the next star, so at the base of the first puff, and make your yarn over. So you have 19 on your hook, hold your yarn over, and pull through all loops on your hook. And finish your stitch with a slip stitch and a chain 1. Now we finish our round with a 1 puff stitch, and we start the 1 puff in the base or in the top of the previous stitch, so make your yarn overs until you have 7 loops on your hook, like this. And now we don't finish the stitch like we normally do. For the last stitch, we find the top of the first puff stitch, insert there, and then yarn over through and pull through the loops on your hook with the same loop, like this. Then chain 1, and to finish your round you insert in the top of the first stitch again and make a slip stitch, so you made the round. So you finished your round. And here is round 2 done. For round 3 we start with a 1 puff stitch, then a 3 puff, a 3 puff, a 2 puff, and then a 3 puff, a 3 puff, a 2 puff. Repeat that 5 times. And then end with a 1 puff stitch like we did for round 2, and then round 3 also is done. So let's start round 3. Pull up a loop, yarn over, and we insert in the top of the stitch where your yarn comes out to start your first puff. So yarn over, pull up a loop, five on your hook, 1 more, so yarn over, insert, and now 7 on your hook, hold your yarn, finish your stitch with a slip stitch and a chain 1. Okay, this is your first done. The next stitch is a 3 puff stitch, yarn over, insert in the top of the stitch. That is the hardest to insert your hook in. Okay, that's 1, 2, and a 3. Now we go down to the base of the first puff stitch, and there we insert for the second puff. So yarn over, go down and insert. Don't forget that part, otherwise your round won't come out the way it should. Two, and the last. Three. So you have 13 on your hook. We need 6 more, so we insert it here. So we go to the left, and then here's our next star where we can insert. So yarn over, insert, and make your last puff. So you have 19 loops on your hook. Hold your yarn and finish your stitch. And I think it is the easiest way to get your hook through is to turn your hook down like this, so you can slide through your stitches. But see what you prefer. That's my method, but maybe you like something else. Okay, the first 3 puff stitch, we need another one. So yarn over, insert in the top, make your first puff like this. Then go to the next star and make your second puff there. Then go to the next and make your third one in there. So 19 loops on your hook, hold your yarn and finish your stitch. With a slip stitch and a chain one. So we start with a 1 puff, 3, 3, and now we make a 2. So make a 2 puff stitch. This and finish your stitch. So this is your repeat for the whole round. If you want to mark your first puff, then do so you know where to insert your hook at the very end. So repeat your round. We now have one set of 3, 3, 2. We need 4 more, so 5 in total. So make another 4 sets of 3, 3, 2 puff stitch groups. Then I'll meet you back. I am almost at the end of round 3. I have 13 loops on my hook. I need a 3 puff stitch, so I made another puff stitch, but I thought it was, I need another puff stitch, and I thought it was nice to show you where to place your third puff, because sometimes that is a problem. So you see your first one here, your second one in the star here, and then you see your first puff stitch here, and this is the star. The base of the first puff is in the middle of this star, so in the middle of that star you insert your hook. So you see they are next to each other. So here was the previous one, and this is your last place to insert your hook. So yarn over, insert in the middle of that star, and pull up a loop. Yarn over, and do that 3 times in total. And this first star is tight. We saw that at the beginning as well. Okay, so you have the loops on your hook, then grab your yarn and pull through all loops on your hook. And finish your stitch with a slip stitch and a chain one. Now we finished our round. We need one more 1 puff stitch in between the last and the first one to finish round 3. So pull up a loop, yarn over, insert in the previous stitch, repeat until you have 7 loops on your hook, like this, and then you insert in the top of the first puff stitch of the round. Yarn over, pull through, and pull through all loops on your hook. Chain 1, and then insert in the first stitch again and make a slip stitch to close your round. And here you have round 3 done. If you want to grow your work, you can easily do that by making 1 3 puff stitch extra in between the 2 puff stitches. Every round you make 1 extra. So for round 3 we made a 1 puff and then 3 3 2 3 3 2 all the way around. total of 5 times, and then end with a 1 puff again. For round 4 we make a 1 puff stitch, then a 3 3 3 2. So then we make 3 puff stitches in between the 2 puff stitches, and that repeat that 5 times and then end with a 1 puff stitch again. For the next round you make a 1 puff stitch and then 4 3 puff stitches and then a 2 puff stitch. So that is what you see here. And if you want to make it even bigger, I grow my one. I want to make mine a couple of rounds bigger, then you make just 1 3 puff stitch extra in between the 2 puff stitches. The rest is the same throughout the whole pattern. So keep on working until your work is the size you want. Let me show you the start of round 4, and then I'm sure you can work the rest on your own. So we start with 1 puff, so pull up your loop, yarn over and insert in the last stitch of round 3. Pull up a loop. One more time. Then hold your yarn, pull through and finish your stitch. Like this. Now we make a 3 puff. Don't forget to put the second puff of your first 3 puff in the base of the first puff stitch, so your round comes out the way it should. Okay. Thirteen loops on your hook, go to the next one. Nineteen loops on your hook, hold your loop, pull through all loops. Sometimes you can help with your nail a little bit. Slip stitch, oops, and chain 1. This is your first 3 puff. We make another 3 puff stitch and another one, so 3 in total, and then a 2 puff stitch, and then repeat that. So we make 5 times 3 3 3 2. So repeat that all the way around, and then I'll show you one more time how to make your last 1 puff stitch. So repeat 3 3 3 2 5 times, and then I'll meet you back. I'm at my last stitch, so I need a 1 puff here to finish my round. So yarn up, pull up a loop, yarn over, and make your 1 puff. And then insert in the top of the last stitch, of the first stitch, I'm sorry, the top of the first stitch, of course, and then pull through and pull through the loops on your hook and chain 1. Then insert in the first stitch again and make a slip stitch to close your round. And there your round 4 is done. So this is 4 rounds. Here you see 5 rounds. And if you make it the size of a placemat, then it is about 8, maybe 9 rounds see what you like most. So make a 3 puff stitch extra in between the 2 puff stitches every round. Start with a 1 puff, end with a 1 puff, and then you can grow it the size you want. You can even make it a rug size if you like that. So here you see my end result. If you like this tutorial, give me a thumbs up, and I would like it if you subscribe to my channel. That makes me very happy. I would like to see your results. You can show me on Instagram at @tulipscrochet. If you have a question or an idea for a next tutorial, let me know in the comments down below. I hope to see you next time. Bye!